Welcome back. I'm Brandon, and today we welcome back Rufus. We do some work for the HBAR Foundation, but today we're just here to give our take and opinions on the latest in Hedera Gaming Liithos. Rufus, can you explain what's been announced and the background of the Liithos founders?
Well, so today we saw the first real AAA game to be announced that has a blockchain or hash graph integration. And I think for an industry like Web3, which wants to really get its foot in the gaming ecosystem, in the door of gaming, considering how vast and massively growing that industry is, especially when we can actually add something. I think it's a very exciting thing indeed, and we are, it seems, the first distributed ledger to be trusted with this kind of announcement, really a AAA game. And so, what is behind the team? So you've got Michael Mumbauer, I think that's how you say it. And he is former PlayStation Visual Arts. He was the CEO of That's No Moon. He was also, I think he led a lot of the play from PlayStation 3 all the way up to PS5. And I think the last thing he did for Sony was The Last of Us 2, which is a massively award-winning game. I played The Last of Us 1 when I was way back now, but Joel and Ellie, the character arc of those two characters was like, I've never been so enthralled by two people in video game history. And I've played a lot of video games. So to have that guy creating a new AAA game, creating the story for Ashfall, I think it's really going to take off. And this is going to be the first time that there's a positive media around Web3 and gaming, because a while ago there was some announcements like the Ubisoft courts, and there was a bit of backlash in the community, the gaming community there. But I think if they're coming in with a AAA game where it's not just like integrating microtransactions into an existing game already, they're creating this from the ground upwards, and I think that's so exciting. And alongside Michael Mumbauer, you've got John Garvin, and John Garvin created Days Gone and the most successful title in PlayStation Vita history, which is Uncharted Golden Abyss. So you've got two absolute powerhouses on the team who have selected Hedera as their public DLT of choice. And this is, I think this is, well, it's unprecedented in the ecosystem. And I think this is going to open up a lot of eyes to the Hedera gaming ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to explain, if some people don't know what AAA games are, it's the highest level of games out there, the highest budget, the highest production value, and so forth. And Ashfall, the game that they're going to be creating, that they're going to integrate with Hedera, is going to be one of these AAA games. And just to describe Ashfall real quick, it will have players fighting to survive in a world scarred by global warming, the ignited volcanic ring of fire, mysterious and disruptive energy fields, and warring enclaves, beginning as a connected single-player adventure that will evolve into a multiplayer PvP and PvE cinematic transmedia world. So it sounds like this is going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely epic. I mean, I've been already enthralled. And considering he did Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us, I think just from that description alone, I've got a very positive view on how this is going to turn out for sure.
So, real quick, you mentioned Uncharted, and I just thought about this. I watched a movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that. It was called Uncharted. Is that based on those games?
So I know that there was I don't know if it's the same act. Well, I know that Uncharted came out. Is it with who's the really young actor? I can't remember his name.
It's the former actor from
Tom Holland, is it?
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
right.
that's so yeah. So the film is based on the series. I think it was exclusive to PlayStation series Uncharted, which is this guy sort of it's a really an exploration game, sort of it's like puzzles and all this kind of stuff. It's not just like a PvP or like a Call of Duty or something like that. It's like a really well crafted. There's multitudes of layers to it. Completely expansive. Finding stories within stories and doing all these quests, and it's more of rather than just like a point and shoot. It was much more of like you got to really think about the stuff you're doing and uncover these puzzles and discover things. So it's got layers to the story which make it enthralling, which make it gripping. And to have that, the people behind that game making this new game, which again sounds like much more than just like a point and shoot, even though I absolutely love point and shoots. This is this is something more than that. And that goes right to the heart of gaming. It's like the gaming fandom, the gaming community, there it is so powerful and energized. And they care so much about the layers to these games, who's building it, who's what the story is, not just multiplayer but the single player as well, which we covered. I think it's super exciting that they've got the team from Uncharted there. And the fact that that was made into a blockbuster film alone shows how big that game was. And again, to have that team with us now, I think is incredible.
Yeah, it was a super entertaining movie. I actually had no clue before we started recording this that was actually the same Uncharted. But it had Mark Wahlberg in it. My wife thought it was great. It was really fun and entertaining. It lost me a little bit when they lifted the pirate ships up with helicopters, but they do that a lot with King Kong and all that kind of stuff, lifting stuff huge with helicopters. But Rufus, what are your thoughts on the benefits of Hedera in gaming in general?
Well, so I mean, I remember ages ago, Paul Madsen did this brilliant article discussing how to use sort of the consensus service as something to sort of track, to bring sort of data integrity, I guess, to gaming in an industry that is sort of rife with, leaderboard hacking and cheating and stuff like that. And he did this article that was saying, if you've got a game, that requires you to take this data down and record it in an immutable way to prevent, in real time, to prevent people cheating in the period of time between the end of the game and when the scoreboard's uploaded. If you can do this in real time, so someone shoots, gets a kill, that score immediately goes onto their profile immutably and can't be changed, then that gives a massive amount of data integrity to this kind of leaderboard system. And that's just one that was predating the token service. I believe he wrote that. And of course, Animoca had I can't remember the name of what they were doing, but they were looking into the leaderboards as well. But that was again before the token service.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got the token service. You can integrate things like microtransactions, but also you have open marketplaces. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you have open marketplaces which are based in NFTs or tokens, fungible tokens, whatever, and you have an individual item that you then own, in a lot of these games, items nowadays have monetary value. So for instance, a game I used to play a lot, it's called Counter-Strike Global Offensive. And it was like, it was probably one of the best, definitely probably put the most hours into that game, like something disgusting, like 3,000 hours. And on that game, you get cosmetics on your gun. So it's like a camouflage on your gun, like, on Call of Duty, you get like Red Tiger or, whatever. And on Counter-Strike, you had like the lowest cost skin or cosmetic was like it was like 1 cent. And then the most expensive was like a blue gem AK, which was like $30,000. And the crazy thing is that, whilst you had that attached to your profile, the gaming studio, i.e. Valve in that case, had complete ownership over it. If you were accused of hacking, like a lot of people were, and you got something called a VAC ban, it meant you couldn't access your account. And so on Steam, which is the gaming platform, you have multitudes of accounts that have, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of skins that can't be accessed because they got caught or accused of cheating. And, cheating, yes, okay, it's the bane of a lot of gamers' life, but, it's always been a part of gaming. It's a natural exploit. It's in the gaming studio should be the one who combats that rather than penalizing someone that exploits it. And so, if you can give gamers ownership over these items, i.e. their cosmetics, through tokenization, through the Hedera token service, then they can carry that item with them and it belongs to them. No other gaming studio can take it from them. They can put it on whatever marketplaces they want online that supports it. They can have it in their wallet. They can have complete ownership over it. And I think that's massive, especially when you're dealing with items that are worth that much money nowadays. That idea of ownership is essential. And the Hedera token service, maybe I'm biased here, but I believe it's best in class. In terms of it can deal with the high throughput, 10,000 transactions a second throttled. It's on a carbon negative network. It costs what, 0.001 US dollar on average. It's like, and that's fixed fees for a company like, for a game like Ashfall that has overhead costs, it has people that they're looking up to that they have to report costs to. How on earth are they going to, give future costs of the game if they can't work it out in fixed fees? It's imagine if you're doing on Ethereum, one day, minting one FT might be like, I don't know how many dollars, but then, if Ethereum goes up or down, that number will completely change. Whereas on Hedera, because we've got those fixed fees, this AAA game and the people that are in charge of it can know exactly how much is going to be expended. Not exactly, but they know what transactions equal what costs, and I think that's massive. Definitely.
Sure. I mean, there's no question that these are businesses. They still have CFOs. They have to tell them, this is how much it's going to cost in the future. And if the fees are based off of a fluctuating cryptocurrency, the CFO is going to look at you like you're crazy. Now, at least if it's a fixed fee like it is with Hedera, they can say, it's only going to cost more money if we're more successful. And that makes perfect sense. So, and there's things like finality, all that kind of stuff. But, as Lehman said, the world's going to be tokenized. And, you were hitting all the highlights on how all these in-game assets are going to be tokenized as well. And the marketplaces don't have to be confined just to one company. They can be recorded on the hash graph and then traded wherever. So, it makes perfect sense for sure.
For sure. And then that's why we've seen also, Vavel Games recently, which is created by 1 to 11, who are an Indian company that came out, I think last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. They're creating, I think, 3 new play to earn games on Hedera. And, they cited the same thing. They said, the network efficiency in terms of costs, the forecasting of expenditure, the carbon negativity of the network to create play to earn games that can, that aren't crippled by overhead costs, that aren't crippling the environment, and because it's not being crippled by overhead costs, they can have, economic structures where they reward players that aren't based on, sort of how many people you get onto the network, and taking X amount of money from them to then give rewards down the line. Everything's a lot more efficient. They can plan these, the economics of it can be far more sound than some of the games we've seen. And then you don't also have to rely on sponsors. So on the Ethereum network, I remember with Axie Infinity, you had, you were living in a country whereby you really want to be capitalizing on this play to earn mechanism. But, to get in there, you'd have to buy a character for like 0.5 Ethereum, or at the time that was like thousands of dollars. And it's like, if that was just because of how expensive the network was, and, gas fees and all this stuff. Whereas on Hedera, because there isn't this barrier to entry, people don't need to get sponsors, and you can just go in there straight away. No one's going to be taking the money from you. It's yours. And I think that's super exciting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're mentioning some of the other players. We have 1 to 11, we have Vavel, we have Dropper coming in. Now we have Liithos. And I know that Alex, the head of the Metaverse Fund, has even more in the pipeline for the gaming industry. So it's expanding really quickly. And it's for all the reasons that we mentioned that Hedera can enhance the gaming industry. So real quick, to shift gears, I do have a couple quotes from the founding executives of Liithos. We'll start off with the CEO, Michael Mumbauer. He said that at Liithos, we want to deliver the next evolution of AAA gaming to the masses in connected ways that have never been experienced before. The gaming industry is amazing in that it has evolved through a series of innovations, never going backward. We look forward to continuing that trend, working with our partners like the HBAR Foundation in support of the Hedera network, who understands the potential and need for innovation without harmful impacts to the environment. And then the vice president in charge of creative at Liithos, that's John Garvin. You also mentioned him. He went on to say that Michael and I have worked together creatively for almost 2 decades, and this is our chance to create something really new and exciting. It's like getting the band back together. Our goal is to create a truly next-gen, open-world experience that engages with new technologies and allows user-generated content. As always, our focus is on creating beloved characters, captivating stories, and evolutionary gameplay, and a world worth exploring not just in games, but other media as well. These guys have a really clear vision of what they want to create.
For sure. That's incredible to hear, and it's that kind of approach to it that is going to win the gaming community onto our side, because the two things aren't opposed, but it can seem that way. But these guys obviously know that there is slight distaste in the gaming community towards NFTs and just milking money for money's sake. But these guys care about gaming. Gaming is their lives. They've dedicated their entire lives to these stories, and they're not just the last thing they'd want to do is get on the bad side of the gaming community, because that is their community. So they want to introduce this community to the Web3 community and have the two in unison, like they can be and like they should be. And I think, this is the start of something very special for Hedera and the Web3 industry, definitely.
Yeah, it's exciting to see us taking Hedera gaming to the next level. There's definitely bright days ahead. Zepzi, thank you so much for swinging by. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Just beyond that, reiterating the excitement here, and I feel like it's going to be felt throughout the entire community, because even recently with Dropper, they said that they're going to be integrating AAA games from Web 2 into Web 3, and now we know that the AAA games are looking at Hedera. I think that statement really, really will ring true as well. So I think we've got very bright days for Hedera. And yeah, thank you for hosting me as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Exciting for sure.